Okay, Coach, if you don't mind starting us off with a little bit of a look back to what you guys saw on film from the Oregon State victory, and then what you have in store this week at Oregon.
Yeah, I thought the first half was maybe as well as we've played all year as a group. It was the best half our defense had played for sure, and really proud because it was a different schemes and shifts and motions, and thought the defensive staff did a really nice job getting them ready. In the second half, you got to give them credit. They moved the ball, but we had a big enough lead offensively. When you're able to run the football, it takes some time off the clock as well. And it was a great win for our seniors, and really proud and kind of excited to see them get carried off the field afterwards. It's pretty neat.
So obviously your final record's still to be determined, but would you say that you're surprised at all by where you're at right now, being 7-3?
You know, I certainly thought if we stay healthy, we were going to be better than last year. It would hard to be much worse, but you know, I recognized early in camp that hey, some of these young guys are going to be able to help us. You know, the returning players looked like they were ready to go and prove themselves, but you don't, know, early in the season we lost a couple games that they were right there with and could have played a little bit better and pulled those out. But the attitude has been terrific, really, since even before camp started in the summer. And I thought we'd have a chance to be a better football team, but you don't really know with the true freshmen how much of an impact they can have. And certainly when when you get kind of quarterback play, we've gotten out of Khalil, that's kind of elevated it as well. So there's been a lot of reasons, and we've stayed healthier. You know, there's no question that we've got a few guys banged up, but we've stayed healthier than we had the last couple of years, and that's helped too.
When we were going through last season, did you ever doubt that you could get back to this point? Like, was there ever any part of you that thought?
Well, I think there's always, when you lose, there's always doubts. I've been doing this long enough to know that, there's a lot of questions, and rightfully so, that, okay, what has caused the turnaround? Because obviously from the record last year to this year, and, I've been thinking, is it a turnaround or is it more staying the course and just trying to get better in all aspects, coaching, playing, and all that? And I think that's been more of that. And we've, I think our recruiting class was probably a little underrated maybe, and that's helped. But I've been proud of the way with the staff and the players, the way they've just kind of stayed the course and just knew we had to get better, and we have. And the fun part is to think about, as these guys grow up in the system and grow up physically as well in the next couple of years, it can be pretty special.
You guys are leading the country in yards per carry. With 2 games left in the season, you've already set a school record for rushing yards, and you broke the school record last week against Oregon State for rushing yards in a game. How much of this is Tate? How much of this is JJ? How much of this is the offensive line? How much of this is catching opponents on an off night?
I think there's a lot of it about it. I don't, and Oregon State's obviously having a down year, but they've been playing pretty good football, and I was a little nervous about it because they were better than the record, and everybody's expecting you to win, which is kind of a new thought in the last year anyway. But, when your quarterback's that dynamic and playing as well as Khalil, that's something. But it starts up front in the attitude that our guys have had, really in all 3 phases, the selfless attitude. I saw somewhere where one program was giving this, I think it was Wisconsin, was giving their scout team guys a lot of credit, and we do too. Our guys on a scout team don't get to play they're not playing on game days, and they're just giving us a look, and they've done a terrific job. Our graduate assistants have done a fabulous job getting the scout teams to give us the look, and we see a different look every week. We saw a different look last week, and we got some experience up front, and they're getting a hat on a hat, and then we've got enough dynamic players to make some pretty special things happen.
You always speak well of recruits and guys change their mind or go with a different school. But the situation this week is you got a guy who left you to alter twice, kind of with Braxton. Your thoughts on that and possibly facing him?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to phrase it. Yeah, we recruited him for a long time, and Rod Smith did a terrific job. And it was every time I usually don't always say we talk about our recruits, not the ones that are somewhere else. But we did recruit him. He was an outstanding high school player, and he's getting to play as a true freshman and playing well. Certainly, I think they may get Justin back, which would be a big boost because they were scoring a whole bunch of points, and he's got more experience. But I think Braxton has played really well for him, and there's no, for us, it's no surprise because we know he's an outstanding player. That's why we recruit him. But I like the quarterbacks we have too. Yeah, not just Khalil, but Brandon, I thought came in and played well. I thought we got an outstanding group of freshman quarterbacks on our roster. Recruiting's going well in that regard. So we feel pretty good at our quarterback spot the next few years.
Have you heard much of "I want to be the next Khalil Tate" type of stuff lately?
Well, I hope. I think, the thing that helped us when we recruited Khalil is that we told him we'd give him a shot at quarterback, and other schools said they would, but they never had a guy like that in their system. And I've been lucky to have the Pat Whites and Denard Robinson, Rasheed Marshalls, Woody Dantzlers, the guys that have been in the system, and even the guys that have played here before, Matt Scott and B.J. Denker, and all those guys have been pretty dynamic as well. And even Brandon has been dynamic. Dawkins too when he's got an opportunity. So we could show film from our past to prove that to quarterbacks recruiting in the future. And not only that, but there's been, I think, a little bit of an uptick from Southern California because guys that know Khalil, followed him in high school, now seen him in success in college, and hopefully they want to play with him.
BJ, how much has he helped Khalil kind of get used to what it's like to be the starting quarterback at Arizona and that kind of thing?
I think really a lot. He's helped everybody in that room, initially, because he's been through it. And Rod Smith, my quarterback coach, has been with me forever, does a fantastic job, always has with our quarterbacks. And I think we kind of play off each other a little bit. I'm, kind of good cop, bad cop. I'm usually the mean guy more than Rod, but Rod can go the other way too. But Rod's got a great demeanor about him, and just he understands not just our system because he played in it, but he understands the guys and how to get them ready for their role, and he's always done a terrific job.
All said and done, where do you think this freshman class will rank as far as influence on a program among the other classes that you've had?
Well, it's the largest I've ever had, and certainly they made the biggest impact early. It probably a lot of similar ways when Scooby was a freshman. His freshman class made a big impact, but I don't know if I've ever had this many play this much and this be this significant. And the nice part about it is I think they're all wired to the way that they want to really, really be good and get better. And so you imagine a year or two in a weight room and an off season, they're going to allow us to do a lot of neat stuff on all three phases.
How does Taylor complement Tate in that they're so similar but different? Yeah,
and our backs, that JJ's the open field guy, make you miss. Nick's a powerful guy that can run away from you, and Zach is the short yardage. He's a big load running up in there. So all of our backs are pretty unique in their own style. But one thing, if you watch closely, they do a great job of blocking. I think Calvin McGee's the best running back coach in the country, and our guys take a lot of pride, in the way they block. And some of those big runs that Khalil is getting are due to our backs and our tight ends in addition to the O-line.
Do you expect Herbert to play for them, and are you preparing for two quarterbacks basically?
Yeah, I think they'll do the same system. They probably can do more with Justin because he's got more experience, but the word is that they have an open date. Had an open date last week, and that he'll be ready to go. So we'll prepare for both of them.
Do you see maybe a bigger marketing campaign with Khalil than maybe we saw with Kadeem a few years ago when we kind of had that situation in the offseason? You guys couldn't go that hard to market him possibly if he was going to miss a game.
Yeah, I really haven't thought about it much. I think it's thoughts in the offseason. It doesn't bother me as long as it's not going to change who the guy is. And I don't, Khalil, like Kadeem, are wired as such. They're competitive. They're grounded. I don't think it'll change. And we got to make sure ways to keep them pretty grounded. But I think it's certainly if he can finish up and continue to have success in the next 3 games and all that, there'll be a lot of excitement about watching him in the future. And there should be. He's a dynamic guy and a lot of fun to watch. And I'm sure our marketing folks will have a good plan for that. It'll be fun.
Involved are you in stuff like that? Like if they bring you the Joey Harrington billboard idea, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think I would think we'll be involved a little bit, maybe give some ideas. And, I don't think, a lot of coaches are like, I don't want anything to do with this and, keep them. I think it's kind of neat for the program, and a program like ours, it brings some attention and positive attention to it, and that'll be a fun thing. And it won't change if Khalil is. I'm excited because he's not come close to reaching his ceiling as a player and as a quarterback, and as things we can do with him. And and the pieces around him, including the other quarterbacks. So it should be fun.
Is it because it was a story in the offseason and we haven't seen him? Just curious how Mike King is doing, and is he putting on the weight that you thought that he needed to put on?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's doing a great job on the scout team. We have some really good, as part of that freshman class that we get excited about is that they haven't been playing maybe on Saturdays, but we can see, 20, 25 pounds in the off season. A guy like Mike King, you're going to be really good players. And we've got to add, recruiting's going pretty well. We've got to be ready for a signing date in about a month. So there's some urgency with that, but we're excited about this upcoming class too.
Will you be involved in any discussions after the season in terms of maybe the attendance, like maybe any inputs you have or any discussions that may follow?
Yeah, we've talked about it. I think it's probably a lot of schools similar to us that, especially when you have some late night games and the attendance and how to draw, people to come. We've got a pretty consistent fan base, but I think also the potential is really high too. But you got to be. It's harder now. It's tough on the marketing to get, because it's so easy to sit at home and watch all the games and be in the comfort of home. And I also think you want to see this guy in person and these guys in person. You want to, be there and make that game experience something truly special. I think our athletic department will have a terrific plan. I've talked to Dave about it a little bit, and he's all about trying to get, make it so it's a great environment for our fans. And I think hopefully with the excitement of these guys, a lot of guys coming back, and the schedule we'll have next year, we'll get a lot of folks to come watch us.
Talk about the schedule, bigger picture here, given that the Pac-12 is likely going to be on the outside looking in with the football playoffs brackets. How would you define the state of conference football scheduling otherwise?
Yeah, I thought, it sounds like coach speak beginning of the year that we're probably going to beat each other up a little bit, and may not be a team make the playoffs because there's going to be a couple losses within the league, and I think that's what's happening. There's, some people would say, well, there's not a good enough Pac-12 team. Maybe there is. There's just other teams that are pretty good that they're playing against in the league, and I think that's what's happened. I don't know, how we would stack up against the number 1 or number 2 team in the country, but I think with our whoever our champion is, if they got a healthy team, they could play with just about anybody. But I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I just think there's probably going to be at least 4 teams with no loss or 1 loss, and that's who will get in the playoff.
How would you fix that?
I don't know if you can. I mean, the teams are going to get better in our league, and so I don't know if you can. It's going to be hard for anybody any year to go undefeated in Pac-12 play. And we play 9 league games, remember. Some leagues don't. So it's going to be a little harder than our league, than maybe some others in that regard. So I don't know if it's going to change. I think a conference championship, I think the better number is 6 or 8. So every conference champion is in a playoff. But, everybody, if all the controversy or talk about college football keeps everybody interested, that's not a bad thing. So I think all this talk and the next talk over the next few weeks is at least keeping college football in the conversation.
Sean Poindexter got a penalty for blocking out of bounds. What did you see on that?
Yeah, he did. He blocking him out of bounds, which he didn't. To Sean's defense, he said, I didn't. The whistle hadn't blown. I thought I could still do that. And that's a fair question. I guess you have to stop once you get them off the field. But Sean was just giving them it wasn't like after the whistle. It was during the whistle, and he was doing a good job. So I think the lesson learned.
And Nate Eldridge got a penalty for blocking below the. What is the rule on that?
That one is one I question maybe as much as any penalty we've had all year, because it was in my view, it was within the tackle box area, and it was just it wasn't a high-low post cut. He was just basically doing his job, what we teach him to do. And so that one I'm really interested to see. We turned that one in for review and see what the response is, because that one was as puzzling as I've seen.
Did their defensive back just make a really good play on the interception?
Well, we got tricked a little bit. He made a great play. I think he was running with a guy in man, but he wound up playing zone and turning out, and Khalil thought he could just lay it up because the guy was running off, and he did a great job of playing that one. And you know, we still had it briefly open. Maybe we could have got him there to him, but as soon as it happened and it came to sidelines, Khalil said, hey, he kind of got me on that one.
What are your thoughts on finally getting an afternoon game here in 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, this one is a 4 o'clock kick there. This one, that's earliest we've had. I'm shocked. And then I heard earlier today, 2:30. I mean, we're gonna have to set the alarms, you know, to get up. Are you kidding me? Wow, that's gonna be kind of neat. I'm fired up about it.
Marcus Griffin got a lot of playing time.
He did.
In this game, is that sort of a, job well done senior thing, or has he earned a spot in that?
Well, he's more, and the senior thing was, I think, by coincidence, but he has earned it. He's practiced really well. You know, we had a couple guys banged up, and I'm really proud. He's another guy that's done everything we asked him to do in the program, and he's having his best year, and he's competing, and he gave us a little lift when he got in there.
Are you concerned at all about, the downhill rushing from the opponents and the rush defense for?
You know, we're not a very big team, and I was concerned from the start. Probably, if you all remember back in August, I said, we're downhill physical teams. We're not a real big team yet, particularly on the back end. So, we have to be very active and get more guys involved. I was concerned with that with the last group because they had big backs, and I'm concerned with Oregon because of Royce Freeman, and they got big guys. So we've got to do a better job of getting more people to the ball. We can't rely on just solo tackles all the time.
Besides the talent on the field, but what makes Autzen so difficult to play at?
Well, they get great crowds, and they're right on top of you. And then you're going to add, there's going to be a little, there's always going to be weather issues probably this time of year up there. And, how do you assimilate wet ball rain in Tucson? We don't get that, so we're going to have to get our guys ready every day with that as well. So we'll have some challenges, and our young guys will have to respond in a hurry.
Are you going to have your water gun out there at practice?
We may have more than that. There's a few years ago, we were ready for the Utah game. If you remember, we turned we had the same kind of similar forecast later in the year, and rain and chilly, and we practiced in the stadium and turned we have sprinklers on in the stadium to wet the turf down. And we turned the sprinklers on halfway through practice just for the offensive side. And most of the guys, including myself, say it's the wettest we've ever been in our entire lives. I mean, we were drenched. And so when it rained at game day up there, our guys were like, this is nothing, the way we got soaked in practice. So we may have to turn on the sprinklers again this week.
Are you going to also kind of input crowd noise? Maybe
Yeah, we've done that. We did that for most of our road games already, but for this week, we'll start with that, doing quite a bit of that tomorrow.
Were you expecting to have Scotty Young available this last week?
Yeah, and he was, but he hadn't practiced much. He could have got in a game, but he was so limited in practice that he wasn't quite, game ready. But this week, he should be able to do everything in practice.
You mentioned how you need a little more bulk on the back end. He seems like he's maybe the most physical guy you have back there. Does he make a difference in the run game?
He's a little bigger, and our safety, none of our DBs are quite probably big enough yet. They'll get bigger, and our linebackers they're young guys. They're not quite as big. That's why we got to be so active. And when we struggled is when there's just one guy to tackle the runner, and we got to get more guys there.
So you were talking at the beginning kind of about what your expectations were for this season, or whether you thought something like this could happen. Did you have any sort of timetable or schedule in mind after going 3-9 last year of when you could, kind of be back to this level?
Just wanted to get 3-9 out of the way. You couldn't wait to play again, because you had so much to prove, and it just leaves such a bad taste. When you go through a season like that, and there's all the talk. It's harder to recruit. And all that. And to our staff's credit and to our players' credit, they just kept working and kept getting after it. So certainly, you feel better now. But there's 2 big regular season games left. There's a big bowl game coming up, and we're not going to be able to play for the championship. But we're playing for our bowl status now, and continue to try to have some fun this year.
Anything more for Coach? Okay.
Okay. Thanks.